Hi, welcome back. We've already talked about the present continuous verb tense. Today we're going to talk about the past continuous verb tense. The past continuous is formed using was or were and the ing form of the verb. Here are some examples. She was wearing a blue dress and a diamond tiara. So this is past tense. She was wearing it. She's not wearing it anymore. We were playing basketball at some time in the past. He was swimming. He was watching a movie on TV. Paul and Mickey were listening to music. He was not wearing any pants. Okay, that's a negative form. They were acting in a play. And the man was talking to the woman about his favorite sport. So the past continuous tense shows a continuing action that was happening at some point in the past and is finished. They were watching the movie. He was eating pizza for breakfast. Keep in mind that this is something that happened in the past and it's finished. He's not eating pizza anymore, but at some point in the past, he was eating pizza for breakfast. Johann was working in the garden. You might be able to also add some information here if you want to. Johann was working in the garden yesterday, or yesterday, Johann was working in the garden. That's also okay. The women were running for president. Notice women is more than one. Maybe we had two candidates who were running for president. And when we're trying to become elected to something, we use this word running, and it obviously doesn't mean they're running physically, but they are attempting to become president. The goldfish were swimming in the pond. She was picking strawberries. Again, you can add something here. She was picking strawberries in the morning. She was picking strawberries at her grandmother's house, and you can move those things around. Yesterday, she was picking strawberries, or she was picking strawberries yesterday. Both are fine. My brother was mowing the lawn. Great. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing. That sounds nice. So I've done two verbs here. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing. So this is a compound sentence. I've done two things. They're both positive things. So we just use the word and to connect them together. The rain was falling, so he was using an umbrella. Great idea. The past continuous is also sometimes called the past progressive. I know that's confusing, but you can say it either way. Past continuous, past progressive. It doesn't make any difference. It's used to show that a past action was happening and was interrupted, or that two actions were happening at the same time. So, remember the past continuous is formed by using was or were plus the present participle. Here are some examples. A statement: they were watching television when she called. So they were watching television is fine, but we're adding a little more information, and we're talking about a second event that happened while they were doing this one. They were watching television and then she called. So that kind of thing. Now you can ask the same question. Were they watching TV when she called? Yes, they were. No, they weren't, right? And a negative. They were not watching TV when she called. Terrific. Okay. When the phone rang, she was writing a letter. Well, a phone rings, it's kind of a quick thing, right? Ring, 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 then it's done. When the phone rang, simple past tense, she was writing a letter. So this is the longer action, and it doesn't matter the order you want to put it in. She was writing a letter when the phone rang. So cool. You can mix it up any way you want, and it really doesn't matter. While we were having a picnic, it started to rain. So you're having a picnic that takes some time, and the rain started is kind of a short event. So you could say also, it started to rain while we were having a picnic. And while really shows at the same time. While John was sleeping last night, someone stole his car. Well, John was sleeping probably for 8 hours. Someone stealing his car is a short kind of action. Maybe it takes them, a minute or two to break into his car and steal it. Begin. Sammy was waiting for us when we got off the plane. So you got off the plane, well, that takes a minute or two, but Sammy was spending a longer amount of time waiting. So you have two actions at the same time. Sammy waiting, and you just getting off the plane. It only takes a few minutes to do that. While I was writing the email, the computer suddenly died. Again, at the same time I was writing the email, the computer suddenly died. Well, the computer dying may happen in a second or two, but writing the email may take time. Keep in mind again, the computer suddenly died while I was writing the email is perfectly okay. All right. You can also use a specific time as an interruption. Last night at 6 p.m., I was eating dinner. It's not really an interruption, but you're giving a specific time that this particular action was happening. So, can you say, I was eating dinner last night at 6 p.m.? Absolutely, yes, it's perfect. Go right ahead. Either way. At midnight, we were still driving through the desert. Okay, we were driving. Notice we've got a word in the middle here that tells us that it's happening and it's taking some time. We were driving is perfectly fine. At midnight, we were driving through the desert, but we're going to put another word in here like an adjective to add a little more detail. And of course, we were still driving through the desert. At midnight is fine. Yesterday at this time, she was sitting at her desk at work. So yesterday at this time, so if now it's 4 in the afternoon on Tuesday, at 4 in the afternoon on Monday, she was also sitting at her desk. By the way, you can also say she was sitting at her desk at work yesterday at this time. So just keep in mind that these kinds of sentences, don't feel that there is a right way and a wrong way. You can really put it together and express your own style. You can do it either way and it's perfectly fine. All right. When you use the past continuous with two actions in the same sentence, it shows that two actions were happening at the same time. Notice this little one I've got here. They were eating dinner, drinking wine, laughing, and having a nice time. There are actually 4 continuous actions that are happening at the same moment. I was studying while he was making dinner. You could say, I was studying while he made dinner. That's fine. What's the difference? Well, the difference is really very minor, but in this sentence, you're showing that it was an action that took a little bit of time to do. Maybe you just didn't pop it in the microwave. While Ellen was reading, Tim was watching television. So Ellen was doing this, and Tim was doing this at the same time. Were you listening while he was talking? Can you say, while he was talking, were you listening? Yeah, you can do that. That's okay too. I wasn't paying attention while I was writing the letter, so I made several mistakes. Now this so shows kind of a result. All right, so that's fine. What were you doing while you were waiting? Somebody might ask you that. You're waiting at the airport for 2 hours, the plane is late, and after they get out of the plane, they might say, what were you doing while you were waiting? And you might say, oh, I was shopping in the duty-free shop. Thomas wasn't working, and I wasn't working either. Remember how we're using this and? We're showing that both of these are kind of similar in some way. Thomas wasn't, that's a negative, and I wasn't, which is also a negative, so we can combine them together with and. They were eating dinner, discussing their plans, and having a good time. Sure. 3 things going on at the same time, and it's perfectly fine to put together a sentence that way. You know, like the simple present and the present continuous, the past continuous with words such as always or constantly can show that something is irritating or shocking that happened in the past. Remember, you put the words always or constantly between be and the verb ing. So here's a couple examples. She was always coming to class late. He was constantly talking. He annoyed everyone. So we're talking about somebody, maybe you went to a party and there's a guy there and he's just constantly talking and he won't stop talking and everyone is annoyed or irritated by him. Okay? I didn't like them because they were always complaining. So maybe somebody that you know is complaining a lot, and you could say, wow, I don't like him because he is always complaining. That's the present continuous, or the past continuous. I didn't like them because they were always complaining. Now, can you use this in a positive way? Yeah, I suppose. I liked them because they were always working. So that's a positive thing, and you can do that. But remember, if you're complaining, or if you're talking about something that annoys you, make sure your tone sounds that way too. She was always shouting at her husband. That's a negative thing. So that's not a happy thing. So make sure your voice is a little bit more serious, kind of take your tone down just a little bit. How about, she was always buying presents for her husband. That's a happy one, okay? So, nice. He was constantly talking about how cute his baby was. I wish he would stop. Well, this is a cute baby. It's not my baby, but it's a cute baby. And you probably know somebody who is always talking about their baby and what their baby did and how cute their baby is. And it's okay at first, but after a while it starts to become kind of irritating. All right, let's see if we can correct the mistakes. I'm going to do the first one first and then give you guys a second to work on things. So I was being in my room when the phone rang. I was, being is incorrect in this case. I was in my room when the phone rang. So we don't need the present continuous. We can just use the simple past. Okay, she was eating lunch when her husband came in with flowers. So the two actions here are eating lunch, which takes a little while, and her husband came in, and just the simple past is going to be fine here, and gave her some roses. Why was you so angry tonight? Why were you so angry? Okay. Where is she being tonight? Okay, this is just where is she tonight? Simple present. He were in the hospital when you wife had a baby. Does that sound wrong to you? This in the back of your mind is something going, that's not quite right. If it does, congratulations, you're developing a good ear for English. He was in the hospital, simple past, when your wife had a baby, simple past. So two events in the simple past. We don't need the past continuous. They are being a cooking well. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. They are cooking well, right? They are cooking, present continuous, right? My son is graduated from high school when he has 17 years old. I'm sure you could find that. My son graduated from high school when he was, oh, that's still wrong. That meant this should be was. I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. When I was parking the car, I have a small accident. Okay. When I was parking the car, I had a small accident. Past tense. Okay. Parking, past continuous, and simple past. I was driving when I, simple past works, so we're going to use the past continuous, something that happened in the past, and while that was happening in the past, I saw a deer. Why was you driving so fast yesterday? Why were you driving so fast yesterday? How did you do with those? I hope you did well. Let's move on to something else. Fill in the blank spaces with past continuous or simple past verbs. I'll do the first one for you. My friend and mother were playing cards at 11 a.m. yesterday. And there's the word we're shooting for. Okay, take a minute. See how many you can get done. Were you still studying at midnight last night? Something you might ask one of your fellow students. At noon today, Good, I was driving to Portland. Perfect. Nikki, what was she doing when her alarm rang? Nikki was sleeping when her alarm rang. Good job. Jorge was studying for his test when his sister called. Okay, those are the two things. He was studying and simple past, his sister called. Where were they living 5 years ago? Where were you living 5 years ago? Okay. How long were you dating Julia? How long were you dating Julia? We're asking to know about how long you were going out together. What was he doing when it began to rain? You were painting the house when it began to rain. Ooh, that's a terrible thing to happen. She was taking a shower when the doorbell rang. I really hate that when it happens. You're just in the shower and you're nice and warm and ding dong, somebody calls. A crazy man hit me while I was jogging. Jogging means to run, like for exercise. A crazy man hit me while I was jogging. That's too bad. I would call the police. So, here's an activity that you can do if you have a friend that you can practice English with. Try this with a friend or your wife or, I don't know, your kids. Choose a strange action and ask their partner or ask your partner to come up with a reason why they were doing those strange things. So the first students might say, when I saw you, you were eating ladybugs. Why were you doing that? And the second student can give an excuse. Remember, you can also start with because if you want. I was eating ladybugs because they look like candy. So remember, you can also answer this just by saying, because they look like candy. And actually, my daughter did that when she was about 2 years old. Okay, here's some pictures today that I took. Pause the video and see how many sentences you can make using the past progressive. There are too many for me to actually do, so I'm not going to do that. But see how many you can come up with to practice. This is excuses, mix, and match. Match the sentence fragments on the left with the fragments on the right to make a complete sentence. So look at this. I was going to sell my motorcycle. That's not a complete sentence. But no one wanted to buy it. Now it's a complete sentence. I was going to sell my motorcycle. That's actually so past continuous. But no one wanted to buy it. Okay, it's a good reason. Take a minute, look through them, see if you can figure out which sentences go together. Okay, I was going to call you yesterday evening, but I dropped my phone and broke it. That's a good reason why not to call. I was going to travel to Las Vegas, but I didn't want to lose all my money. You can see we have a reason here and a kind of situation that you might have been planning to do in the past, but you didn't do it. I was going to eat that, but then you told me it was snake meat. Yeah, if I went to the restaurant and somebody brought something and they said, oh, that looks delicious. And then you started to eat it, but then they said, aha, that was snake meat. You probably wouldn't be too happy. I was going to quit my job, but then my boss gave me a raise, so I didn't quit my job. I was going to buy a new iWatch, but then I saw the price and changed my mind. Wow, they're so expensive. I was going to visit my friend in Australia, but then I realized that I was afraid of koalas. That would be a pretty strange thing to be afraid of, but still, I'm sure there are people who are afraid of koalas somewhere. I was going to take a bus to work, but there was no bus in my town. Yep, that's a situation here in many places in the United States. Small towns don't have bus services. I was going to watch a late movie last night, but I fell asleep on the sofa, so I didn't watch it. I was going to learn to play the guitar last year, but then I realized it was too hard, so you didn't do it. So all of these things are situations in the past that you were thinking about doing, and then there's a reason why you didn't do them, and then uh, kind of an excuse, and you didn't in the end do them. I was going to go to the nude beach, but then I realized it was too embarrassing. Let's see if you can complete the story with past verbs or past tense verbs. Take a minute, go back, look it over, and then we'll come back and talk about them. Okay, yesterday it was snowing all day, so I stayed home. Actually, you can also say, yesterday it snowed, simple past, all day, so I stayed home. My daughter, Samin, wanted to play outside, so she went out. She was making a snowman all morning, while I was just watching and drinking hot chocolate. How'd you do so far? When she came in, we ended up playing video games most of the afternoon. Later, while I was shoveling the driveway, a snowplow came by and, simple past, pushed the snow back into the driveway. I had to shovel it all over again. Soon I was tired of shoveling, so I went back inside and made dinner, cooked dinner, both are fine. It was still snowing, so we just sat by the window, enjoying, or you could say, so we just sat by the window and enjoyed, or you could say, enjoying our nice warm house. While Samin was looking at the gently falling snow, the phone, simple past, rang. Her friend was calling to say that school was canceled tomorrow. You can also say her friend called to say that school was canceled tomorrow. Both are perfect. Samin was so happy. She was dancing around the room, singing, and laughing. Snow days are awesome. So, how did you do? You've now finished the first 5 verb tenses. Really practice these as much as you can. They are the most used verb tenses in English, and they will allow you to speak a lot with confidence and fluency. So really practice. To make sure that you have learned them, you should, no, not should, you must use them in your daily conversation. I hope you're having some daily conversations in English. The more you actually use them, the better and more fluent your English will become. So use them, but really be confident because you have all the tools you need to speak English now. I hope that you're enjoying the course. Hey, that's present continuous. And I hope you feel comfortable Simple present, using English. I will see you. Simple future in the next lesson. Have a great day and see you soon.